Hello everyone, my name is Wajiro Moreithi of WINENJIRU Limited, and I'm here with Conversations with WINENJIRU. I have a very special guest today. Matome, you actually launched our business way back then in 2014.
Yeah, when I think about it and how we've grown since, I think for me, it just gives me a sense of joy to know that we've come this far.
Yes.
And the way is still long if you think about how we see the future of Africa. So
Yes.
indeed, I'm grateful and I'm glad to have you as a partner.
Yes, thank you. I was so excited I even forgot to introduce you. So Matome Mbatha is with Wines of South Africa. He will tell us more about the organization, but this conversation is really more to understand you, the person, how you got into the world of wine, and why Kenya is really an important market for you. So beyond this big position in wine, what were you doing before?
Sure, yeah, I've had so many things that I've done. Dates back to my years in the airline. I worked for South African Airways as a flight steward. And I did that out of fun for good 9 years. And while I was in the airline, I studied international trade relations.
Wow, great.
And I think having grown up and of the ages of being a youth and a young man, I thought ideal to move on to something that I will retire on to.
Okay, great.
So studied international trade relations. I joined Absa Bank for just under 9 months.
Wow.
From being a traveler to being subjected to an office kind of work, I could not cope. So I took on a chance when an opportunity opened at Wines of South Africa. Then I decided that's where I'm going to end up. And for some reason, at some point while I was in the airline, I visited Nederberg because I did the South African introductory wine course.
Oh, great. Okay.
And with Cape Wine Academy then. And I remember driving on N1 from the airport going into Paarl. We were sponsored by South African Airways then.
Okay, great.
And I thought to myself, I could do with this. We drove through the winelands, did the day's course, went back to Joburg the very same day. And I just kept it in mind that one day I'll come back to the winelands. And years later, yes, indeed, I ended up taking a position at Wines of South Africa, looking after the markets.
Okay. I typically joke that I should have had more success perhaps in tea and coffee because I'm from a tea and coffee growing area. So was the airline experience your introduction to wine, or were you exposed to wine before that? Having, living in South Africa, being South African.
And interesting, I also come from a township where wine was never popular.
Wow.
We all drank beer, we drank spirits. But when I traveled, I think I was somewhat exposed by virtue of us serving wine on board the aircraft. And the reason that we were given a chance to do a wine course, because we were few that were identified.
Oh, okay.
And back in the day, and I'm going to give away my age, we still have aircrafts, the Jumbo 747s, that had first class business and economy.
Okay.
And first class, you do a more bespoke service.
Wow.
Where we poured wine and paired it with, obviously, line with what is in the menu. And that was a starting point. Because when you started serving wine on board and you thought, oh, this is interesting. And then I started consuming it when we in outstations, and in some countries like Australia, we would go there. In France, we would go and taste wine and drink wine with our food. And then I got used to it. And when I got back home, I did the same. So I started collecting as well, buying wine. But it was more entrenched when I got into the wine industry.
Yes.
And having started that wine course, I did the actual full diploma at Cape Wine Academy.
Oh, great.
And the rest is history.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. It's quite an interesting story. I would never think that, say, a wine course is necessarily integral to an airline staff member, but then now that you painted the picture of first class, business class, we always think your work is just beef and chicken.
It's beyond that. Look, I think we would do a 6-course meal.
Wow, that's
where
really great.
we would do the entries, the starters,
Yes.
all the way to main course and dessert, finishing off with some cheese and biscuit. So you'd almost every meal serve it with wine.
Okay.
So it actually prompted them to take us through the wine course. And like I said, I happen to be fortunate to be one of the few that was selected to do the wine course and be flown to Cape Town. And to Nederberg was the actual winery first that I went to. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Then I ended up studying trade relations, but aligning it with wine was a bonus because it turns out to be something I love and I'm very passionate about.
And you do that very well. I mean, we have been in some very undiplomatic situations where we are, negotiating with government departments, and I have seen that international relations come into being. Now, like yourself, I had to do a wine course to start in my new career. And that is where we met, the University of Cape Town Graduate School of Business, and I was doing the Diploma in Wine Business Management.
Yeah.
You're a lecturer on that course?
Sure, yeah, my career has really evolved over the years, if I were to put it that way.
Yes.
I think if one thinks about that from just being a flight steward, and it's a very prestigious job, by the way, exposes you to so many things. I think over the years, the use of word evolved is that my career has also been value add by association and be able to add value by my role looking after Africa as it is now.
Yes.
Because if you think about, I started at WOSA as a market manager for USA and Canada.
Oh, wow.
So one way or the other, it balanced my life from having been heavily a traveler overseas, so I could still travel overseas. But when the opportunity opened up for me to look after Africa, it was kind of like, do you want to leave developed countries? But actually, it was a blessing in disguise because as we progress and we grow, we realize that Africa is the future. So coming into looking after Africa, what a bliss, eh? Because it's evolved. And now being an expert in Africa in terms of emerging markets and marketing, I find that there's a demand for me to share my expertise.
Awesome.
So that's how I ended up being a lecturer at the Graduate School of Business at the University of Cape Town. It's something that I've been doing now for the past 6 years now.
Wow.
So annually I render a lecture to on emerging markets.
Yes.
And Africa is the most fascinating subject. Yes. Over the years, I have now found that there is so much new things to talk about. The free trade agreements, Africa Continental Free Trade Agreements, and many other things relating to access to market, beyond marketing activities. So it's a thrill.
It's a thrill, and we are happy for it.
Thank you.
WOSA, Wines of South Africa, has been coming to Kenya since 2015. Why is this an important market, if at all? I hope it's your most important market.
No,
in
it
Africa.
is, without doubt. Kenya, and I'll put it this way, East Africa as a whole presents opportunities because it's one of the regions with the fastest growing economies. Not just fastest growing economies. This morning, I went to the 28th floor of this hotel. There's a restaurant where you can see full circle of the city. Amazing what you see, the skyscrapers, the structure of this country's Nairobi region, it's advanced. So when we say Africa is advancing, you literally can see it in the actual infrastructure of this country. How recently we've just launched the express route.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm thrilled about that. It takes 12 minutes to come from the airport to the hotel. So all of these elements are actually evidence of what I preach about. Africa is developing, opportunities are here, the future of economy, the future of things that will be buzzing and trend-setting will be happening in Africa. Nairobi, Kenya, and as I put it to you, we're looking at expanding to other regions. We've already started doing work in Mombasa.
Mombasa, yeah.
But Kenya, man, if you come to Nairobi, you cannot imagine not doing business in this space. And so are other countries in East Africa.
And Nairobi loves you back, I guess.
I love Nairobi. They even actually have a way of saying my surname,
Yes.
which makes me feel that I am part of Nairobi.
Okay, and how
I'm
do they
Mbatha.
say Mbatha?
Mbatha back home, but Mbatha. And I met this guy, his surname is exactly as spelled as mine. And we were clicked. His name is Vincent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And we clicked, and we said, "You brothers going forward." So yes, I'm home away from home. Yeah.
Home away from home. That's great. What would you say you like most about Kenya? And it doesn't have to be about the business side. It could be even maybe on a personal level as a global traveler and tourist. What fascinates you most about Kenya? Perhaps we need to be proud of what we have and we don't know.
Look, unique as it is, but when I said home away from home, there's so much similarities. We can relate with the Kenyans. We are in a space that allows us to not feel intimidated. You are in a first world country. Others may not recognize it as such, but South Africa is first world, no different Kenya is. There are many things that makes Kenya to be accessible, from ease of doing business, the language, learning the languages that are not English. So all of these elements make it to be really fun to be here. And the fact that it's only 4 hours away from Johannesburg, it makes it easy. Look, I come from a background where I've flown for 16 hours at a go, going to New York from Johannesburg. Now these days, I mean, I fly to a destination today, I sleep in a hotel today. So that is the fun part of me finding it not difficult to come to market.
come here, yeah.
And it's a destination definitely without doubt to be coming to for holiday. Food is good. I mean, nyama choma is no different to our popular braai at home. So the product that we serve and that we bring to the market is what actually pairs well with what Kenyans accept. So rightfully, it's ease of doing business, access to coming in the market. Everything is seamless in a way.
That's great to hear. Thank you very much for that. And actually, 4 hours from Johannesburg and 6 hours direct flight on Kenya Airways as well to Cape Town.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're definitely getting into that. What would you see as the future prospects, or what would be the dream for you to happen in relation to the wine industry in Kenya?
The beauty of Kenya is that the consumers are growing. Appreciation of wine is getting better and bigger by day. The thirst for knowledge that Kenyans have allows us to actually grow into the market. And that's the beauty of what, to me, presents opportunity for South Africa. Obviously, everything else that's got to do with getting more Kenyan businessmen and women to convert to just being general dealers, to becoming winepreneurs. So instead of just becoming a tenderpreneur or entrepreneur, you are rather a winepreneur. So I would like to see more growth of the wine clubs, more growth of, through the programs that we're running, training young ambassadors into wine. It automatically would put pressure on businesses to get involved in wine.
Yes.
So that is their vision and the dream. And then automatically wine becomes the drink of choice across. If people think of drinking social and whatever reasons they drink for, wine is the first thing that comes to mind.
Great.
Yeah.
And you have done a lot of work in that space. I don't think there's any other country that has invested, in essence, as a whole of the wine industry in the education that you have. We've done the trainings every year since 2015. We've also held the SOM Cup twice, and having the winner come to participate in that. That has been instrumentally, I think, one of the biggest things. We've seen a lot of our people from these courses then now go to do more professional courses like the Wines and Spirits Education Trust, and it can only get better. I do agree with you on that one.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Kenya, if you think about it, other than South Africa within the continent, is but the only other country that is rolling out the WSCT program in the country. So that tells a tale a lot. So with that said, as I put it, 70 people attended the event, the training today. And it's just been growing by day.
Exactly.
We are rolling out an advanced course because we realized that at introductory level, they come here already with that basic. So yes, let's talk about the basics, but questions that were asked today were very technical. Questions that says, empower me with knowledge on wine, that when I speak about wine, I can engage with my client. Automatically, it's value proposition for the business, it's value proposition for the product wine. And once, as we get to those levels, we can tick and say, what next? Because it means the very basic things have been taken care of. And that is the vision of us growing. It's not just about volume, but value. So the more people are knowledgeable, the more they trade up. I mean, sometimes you'd find that people actually shut down on people drinking entry-level wine, sweet wine, but at least they're drinking something that they learn and can apply themselves to graduate and migrate to the next tier. So we're thrilled and excited that we're getting the kind of response we get.
We're getting, yeah.
And obviously you are also directly involved with the WCT. You are able to push the agenda of knowledge in wine. We drive the agenda strongly of that. We are responsible. We drive responsible use of alcohol.
Of alcohol, yes.
And you rightfully said, South Africa is but the only wine region in the world that actually sells wine but also educate people, because we value that people must be upskilled. I spoke earlier, I said people must have skills that they can export and take with. So if we create ambassadors, we create sommeliers out of this whole exercise. better still, because then it goes beyond Kenya,
Exactly. And we can export these sommeliers across the world.
without doubt.
Your work in wine is not just related to Wines of South Africa within your country. You hold other roles in other organizations. Please tell us a bit about that part of your work.
Yeah, so I think as you grow in and your career evolves, and then you are a contributor to the industry. So I also sit as a chairperson of the South African Wine and Spirit Board. It's an appointment by the Minister of Agriculture to oversee the regulations, the demarcation processes of the regions, and compliance to be at international standards. So I oversee that as a chairperson. I have an executive committee that reports to the board about their actual functions. So that's a very important role we play in terms of ensuring that the quality that gets delivered to markets is aligned with international standards. I also sit on different committees along the lines of transformation to ensure that, there is a fair, spread of transformation resources to draw in those who were previously disadvantaged to the mainstream of the economy, but also mainstream of the sector, that they too can play a role at whatever different levels. So I have been active in that space as well for a while. I've also sit in some of the boards. I currently sit in one of the winery boards as well. So it's a need for a contribution to what my exposure to wine is and my skills. And I think that's something that we hopefully will see being rolled out to many other young people that we've trained. Today, I met one of the, I would say a trained South African media person that is doing wonderful things at global level, but she actually found a ground through these platforms.
Yes.
So it's not just about Matome, WINENJIRU, it's about what we bring as upskilling and value add to everybody across. And it gives me joy when I see stories of, I'm here because you made it collectively with your WINENJIRUs, your Under the Influence, Wines of South Africa has been instrumental in my being where I'm at.
And I can say I'm a true recipient of that. Your belief in our ability to meet the goals and objectives of what you need to do in this market and selecting us as an organization, and just the general support over the years in terms of the collaborations you bring and the partners, even within my own country, that I've gotten to grow with because of your involvement in our business and the opportunities you provide us to do. I'm truly, truly thankful, and I look forward to a longer collaboration over the years. But we can't end this conversation without mentioning the biggest South African wine show happening later this year. So I'll give you some time to plug that in as we close, because this conversation is not going to end today. There's so much more to discuss over time.
Brilliant. I think without doubt, it gives us joy too to know that you go into a market, you got to go and believe in people that can render. And you develop areas where you can and support. I think most important is to give support. It's the only way you can empower. And I strongly believe in empowerment. I come from that background where a platform has been created, has been given, and I ran with it. So why not create more of the WINENJIRUs if it means that it would be to the betterment of the society? Wines of South Africa, myself personally, I believe strongly in that. Speak of Cape Wine, it's one of our flagship events in South Africa. Obviously with COVID, we've had to push our dates out, but this year we are thrilled to actually be hosting our event on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of October. We are hoping to have more than 3,000 guests attending. We've got 300 wine producers that will be exhibiting at the show. It will be pre, during, and post, fascinating activities that are being planned by wine producers. So yes, it's a big event that we all look forward to, and Kenyans will be coming there without doubt. I know importers that are already committed to coming in. We will be bringing in media that will also help us to do coverage of the event, but also to give them the event experience. Cape Wine goes beyond tasting of wines on site at the convention center, Cape Town Convention Center. It's about tourism. It's about bringing, the experience into the winelands. That is why I say pre and post. So those will be coming in earlier, will be able to visit the winelands, visit the wine farms, and have document that to show, be it in the form of a documentary, in the form of a show, whatever the case may be, but highlight what the Western Cape has got to offer. it goes beyond the waterfront when you come to the Cape Town.
Yes.
The winelands are just 45 minutes away from the waterfront, but second to it, and many others that are further afield, there is so much to learn. Food and wine pairing, activities that you can engage with the winemakers about their way of making wine. Those are the kind of tourism issues. But what I would like to see in return, reciprocating of that with Kenya. There's so much Kenya's got to offer.
Yes.
I was told 30 minutes away from here, I'm here to explore. There are some areas that we can go to and experience the true Kenyan tourism experience. So I'd like to see the same lingo of drawing feet to the winelands in the Cape, draw feet up to Kenya as well, so that South Africans can actually get off wanting to go holiday elsewhere,
Yes.
but come to fellow Africans and do the same thing. We need to drive the Africa agenda more to benefit each other. We speak strongly, and I'm a believer strongly, of intra-trade. That is why I choose who I choose. And better still, I look after Africa.
There you have it, a true African in our midst. You can tell the diplomacy and pushing for international relations. And really, it is a collaborative effort on both ends. Thank you so much, Matome, and look forward to seeing you in Cape Town.
Wonderful. Thank you. Look forward to see you there too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.